The Kyler Murray slander continues. We'll discuss it. Plus, bunch of new faces in a bunch of new places taking head coaching posts in different teams. Which coaches would you take over Kliff Kingsbury at this point? That's a two-parter. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked on Cardinals. Giddy up.
You are Locked on Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, welcome everybody in. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked on Cardinals. We were, missed yesterday. I apologize for that. Bo's in LA covering the Super Bowl. I'm living pretty much in Bo's world, whether it be his infant or him deciding to go to LA. Ross Jackson, shout out. This is Bo's world, and I'm begrudgingly living in it. Follow him at Bob Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked on AZ Cards. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're over 2,000 subscribers. Thank you. A couple things we're going to talk about today. One, Kyler Murray slander continues. Is it warranted? Our fearless leader even thinks it could potentially be warranted. And then there's a bunch of new heads in a bunch of different places, new coaches taking over in different spots across the NFL. Bo's going to run down the list, and we're going to play a game of this coach or Kliff Kingsbury. Who would you rather have coaching the Arizona Cardinals? This episode of Locked on Cardinals is brought to you by Get Upside. Just download the free Get Upside app. Use promo code touchdown to get 25 cents per gallon or more cash back on your first tank. Now, the disclaimer for this is, once again, I'm aware that Kyler Murray is somewhat at fault for the second half meltdown that we saw for the Arizona Cardinals. Absolutely. He's the quarterback. He's the leader. And on top of that, Kliff Kingsbury has been given this gift of wins from Kyler Murray, making Kliff look better than he actually is as a head coach, in my opinion. Now, here's the snag here. The silly season has started probably 6 weeks early because Kyler scraped his Instagram of multiple pictures about the Arizona Cardinals and his family. Stop it with him, Aaron Rodgers-ing his family by scraping Instagram pictures from them. Now, listen.
Yeah.
Just because, Bo, he took pictures off from other things doesn't mean the stuff about the Cardinals just doesn't need to be discussed, right? It needs to be talked about. That's all.
It's being talked about ad nauseum, even out here. I mean, when there's a big game to be played on Sunday, everybody wants to. They find out, you're involved with the Arizona Cardinals. What's going on with Kyler Murray? And I actually was talking with people from his gaming team, and they said they reached out to people who know Kyler, and they said, "What's up with this?" And they said, "Sports bleep." It's just sports bleep, just sports crap, or another word for that, another synonym for that. That's 4 letters. And to kind of, that just adds a little fuel to the fire. This is not nothing, but at the same time, this is something that can be dealt with very easily. I don't know. I mean, we knew that there was going to be some posturing that the Cardinals were going to have to do to make him happy, especially with how things have ended each of the past 2 seasons. But, this team, like, when you look at everything, you have to do everything within your power as an organization to make this one person happy. As stupid and selfish as that sounds, you have to, because if that's how premium this position is in the NFL, how futile it's been with this organization. You have to keep him happy because he has a little bit more leverage than most guys do, and he's going to flex it. I mean, when it comes to negotiating, he's going to flex it, and this is I don't know, step one. It might be even further down the line than that.
Yeah, and let's put to rest here quickly. And first of all, sports crap is kind of what Bo puts on his resume. It's not really, it's not great, but you can call it sports crap. That's been, his career in a nutshell over the last decade in Phoenix. He's got the same agent as Kliff Kingsbury, okay? The whole Kliff to Oklahoma thing. Okay, let's put that to rest too. It's like being in the same family. Not everybody is a crown jewel in the same family. Bo, another great example, has 2 brothers who are crown jewels, and wow. Bo is the run to the litter. So, I mean, it's feeding into me right now. No, but it doesn't have to be like, oh, well, Kliff and Kyler have the same agent, so they've got to be a package deal. That's not, why does that have to be discussed like that's law? Like, I don't, one's perform, like, and I agree with you, the posturing, but if you're looking at Kliff's posturing and Kyler's posturing, who has more weight in the posturing? It's going to be the quarterback.
You go quarterback every time. Yeah.
Right.
But, I don't think he's looking at Kliff as an issue like you are. I mean, do you really think that he has a coach that's known for being a player's coach and has kind of let him run his own show, that he would want to go another direction, that he's going to want somebody to come in and be kind of the tough love guy? I don't think anybody would sign up for that, especially Kyler Murray's generation and how he operates. I don't think he would want to get away from what K2's doing. I would bet that he's very content with how things are going as far as the coach quarterback relationship. How's
it working when it really comes down to it? You need an enforcer from the leadership role. I mean, it's like,
it's different than what he's going to want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what he wants, it doesn't, like, they're employees. Okay, they shouldn't be able to have that much say when it comes to things like this. Kliff and Kyler, different case. Sure. Sean McDermott, you think Sean McDermott is going to roll over for Josh Allen? Think Brian Daboll's rolling over for Josh Allen? Brian Daboll has massaged Josh Allen into what he is now. He was crap, and now he's great. Like, that's what Josh Allen came in as. A turnover machine that may have looked at as one of the biggest busts in the top 10 as a quarterback, and now he's all world. That's coaching. That's growth. And you need some tough love there that's not coming from a backup quarterback or something like that to get there. It doesn't matter if Kyler likes Kliff Kingsbury as the head coach. If Kliff's not doing his job to help Kyler evolve as a QB1 in the NFL, it's not working. It doesn't matter if the quarterback likes it.
There's enough evidence to say that it's working. There is, despite the downfall in the last two seasons. There's as far as wins and losses, as far as development and improvement, as far as Kyler from season to season, there is. To say it's perfect, that you would be completely incorrect. And it almost becomes more of a complicated case than Josh Allen, where he comes from Wyoming, not a football school. He's a raw prospect. He's unknown as far as how his skill set's going to translate to the NFL level, and how they did develop Josh Allen to where Kyler Murray was, he was the best player on his team in his entire life. He plays 1 year in college football, wins the Heisman. He's the number one. You're from day one, this is our guy. Where Josh Allen was, there was a little bit more. He knew that he had to put in the work. Kyler Murray now has to figure out or realize that despite him being in the top position to negotiate and leverage himself for the biggest contract possible, that he's not a product. He has to get better.
There's no denying that. He definitely has to get better. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals. Bunch of new coaching hires. Cardinals missed out on them. If you think Kliff Kingsbury's not the guy, who would you take over Kliff Kingsbury of the newly hired coaches? We'll hit the first half of the list in segment 2, the second half of the list in segment 3. That's next coming up. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march into the Super Bowl. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just football. BetOnline has up-to-the-minute info on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, along with live real-time updates of current games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available for the 2022 season. BetOnline, where the game starts. Second segment, Locked On Cardinals. Follow him at Bo Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Bo on Radio Row. Me at my humble abode in Arizona. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We appreciate everybody that reaches out, comments, tweets, everything. Thank you. Kliff Kingsbury is still the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. One of the two of us is happy about that. The other, not so much. There have been bountiful amounts of head coaching positions filled across the NFL. Bo's going to run down the list, and we're going to play a game of Kliff or that guy. Bo, let's run down the list real quick and then start at the top in no particular order. There's 8, correct?
There's 9. There's 9.
There's 9. So we'll hit 4 this segment, and we'll hit 5 next segment, and we'll bid this bleep and adieu. Bo, go ahead.
Okay. Just looking at the list, as you mentioned, in no particular order, Jacksonville Jaguars hired former Philadelphia Eagles head coach, fired a couple seasons after their Super Bowl run, Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson, the veteran coach, obviously came from Andy Reid's coaching tree. What do you think about Doug Peterson? How do you pit him up against Kliff Kingsbury?
I would take Doug Peterson over Kliff Kingsbury.
You know what? I need to see the bet online over under on how many of these guys of the 9 choices you would take over Kliff Kingsbury. I'm going to set the market like 7.5.
Okay, cool. Thank you for doing that. I'm going to take Doug Peterson over Kliff Kingsbury, number 1, because he was removed because the owner didn't like him and because they had to choose between him and the quarterback, and they ended up choosing neither. Then they thought Jalen Hurts was the guy, even though Jalen Hurts played well somewhat last year and played terribly the other half of the year. Doug Peterson took Nick Foles and won a Super Bowl against the best dynasty in all of professional sports history. So he did that. He's a winning guy. Again, he comes from Andy Reid's coaching tree. He's an adult. He's an offensive mind that, isn't he's not allergic to the defensive locker room, which would be a huge step forward. Plus, he's won in the NFL before, something that Kliff Kingsbury hasn't done. So I would take Doug Peterson
this season. He just won 11 games. Well, Doug Peterson was on his couch.
Okay. Would you take Doug Peterson over Kliff Kingsbury?
Are we not going to count Kingsbury's wins this year?
No, we're not. We're not, because it was an embarrassment after starting 10-2 when things matter. Sean McVay had to clinch a playoff spot for the Cardinals because the Cardinals couldn't do it themselves. Would you take Doug Peterson over Kliff Kingsbury?
I would not. I think that this, as far as what his concepts and as far as his development of his young quarterback at the time in Carson Wentz, he regressed. He horribly regressed. We've seen Carson Wentz. Unfortunately, his only flash this season was against the Arizona Cardinals on Christmas, where he makes the big, touchdown pass to put that game away. I would not. I would actually err on the side of the younger play caller, a guy that's more up to speed as far as the current modern day offenses, and I'll go with Kliff over Doug.
Okay.
As far as the next guy, more of a defensive mind coming from the Indianapolis Colts, Matt Eberflus he goes over the Chicago Bears. You taking the defensive minded guy over and what he was able to do with that Colts defense over the.
If you would have asked me at the beginning of last year, beginning of this past season, I would have said yes. I'll say no, just because you need an offensive guy at head coach, regardless of his willingness or ability to execute down the stretch.
Yeah, I think it's an easy no. This is actually, when I look at this class, probably the bottom of the hires. Ones I'm pretty skeptical about. So yeah, you'd have to couple them with a pretty good offensive coordinator. Next on the list, the Houston Texans on Monday, making the decision to promote Lovie Smith from defensive coordinator to head coach. Lovie Smith, pretty easy answer. No, right?
Right.
We'll go on. Kevin O'Connell, like Kliff Kingsbury, because he knows Sean McVay. He's got a head coaching gig. He's the new Minnesota Vikings head coach. Luke Braun is feet from me. I don't know if he's bought in on Kevin O'Connell just yet. Are you bought in on Kevin O'Connell at least? Maybe an upgrade over Kliff Kingsbury?
This is a slim yes for me, because excitement of the unknown, it's the opposite of devil you know. I've seen what the devil I know is, and it comes up short every time you need him not to. So I will take the unknown of Mr. O'Connell.
I would say no at this point. I mean, as far as what his duties were, his game planning, pretty impressive what the Rams were able to accomplish. He was an up-and-comer in Washington under Jay Gruden for a while, but still, I mean, even more of an unproven. I don't think you're upgrading at the head coaching position with O'Connell. So if you're keeping score through this segment, Alex would go with Doug Peterson, K2. He wouldn't go with the new Bears head coach over K2 or Lovie Smith, but he would go with Kevin O'Connell. So he's betting 500. Well, I'm 0 for right now. We'll see if we choose any on the other side here on Locked On Cardinals. I'm live from Radio Row. Alex is holding things down in AZ, the site of next year's Super Bowl.
Built Bar, Built Bar, Built Bar, bleeping Built Bar. It's New Year's resolution time still. I'm assuming that the gyms aren't as packed as they once were for the first 2 weeks of January, but that doesn't mean that you can't eat healthy while eating something delicious. That's where Built Bar comes in. Have you tried the puffs yet? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of the best Built Bar tasting things, concoctions they've ever put together. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. Like, it's true. We've had them. They're delicious. They're fluffy. They're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar. They're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Total fan favorite with incredible flavors. Cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. They're incredible. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. As I mentioned, the puffs included 100% real chocolate, low calorie, high protein. Replace your candy bars with these. They're just better. A typical candy bar can be anywhere from 200 to 300 calories. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com, Bo Brack.
Alex has a new lame pickup line. It used to be like, hey, do you like music, or do are you big into movies? Now he's like, hey, do you drive? Do you buy gas? Yeah, of course, everybody does. And, Cardinals fans, you need to know about this incredible app. For anybody that buys gas, they need to know about. We're talking about Get Upside. Our listeners are earning cash back for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app, the App Store, Google Play right now. Use the promo code TOUCHDOWN. Get 25 cents per gallon or more on your first fill up. Cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump any longer. Get that cash back using Get Upside. Just, download the app. Use the promo code TOUCHDOWN for 25 cents per gallon or more on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot, they're making up $200, $300 a year cash back. There's no catch. The cash gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime. Your bank account, e-gift card for Amazon or other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app. Use the promo code TOUCHDOWN to get 25 cents per gallon more cash back in your first tank. That's the promo code TOUCHDOWN.
All right, final segment, Locked On Cardinals on this Wednesday edition. Again, sorry about being vacant yesterday. We'll be back on track for the rest of the week and on through the offseason. Follow him at Bob Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. We're going through the Kliff or the other guy. This is part 2. Bo, run down the names of the people that we've talked about so far who've taken head coaching jobs elsewhere and who else is on the list.
Yeah, Peterson with the Jaguars, Matt Eberflus, Chicago Bears, Lovie Smith with the Houston Texans, Kevin Oaks with the Vikings. So we have 5 more head coaches that were hired this offseason. We're deciding whether or not we would take those new hires over the Arizona Cardinals' current head coach, Kliff Kingsbury. 5 more to go. Some interesting names, probably the more intriguing names of the list to pit up against K2. Let's start with the Denver Broncos, going more offensive-minded this time with their head coach hire. They take away from the Green Packers organization, and they hire Nathaniel Hackett. Denver head coach or Kliff Kingsbury, Alex?
I'll take Kliff. This is the devil situation. He and Kyler know each other well. Starting over with Nathaniel Hackett, I think, would prove to be a little bit more of an active futility than sticking with Kliff. So I'll stick with Kliff.
Yeah, Hackett, I guess, is the guy that's been keeping Aaron Rodgers pretty happy during his tenure, and we'll see if that, with this divorce, that means another divorce is in the works. But he apparently a very positive guy, but more of an unknown than Kliff. I'm going to continue my string here. Not going to take Nathaniel Hackett over Kliff Kingsbury. It's proven guy who has an NFL head coaching resume. It's not good. It's Dennis Allen, who is the Raiders head coach, pretty much just set up to fail so many years ago as their head coach. I think he just won 8 games and lost over 25 games, Alex. But he's getting another chance as the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. Dennis Allen, defensive guy. You like him over Kliff?
No.
Okay. That's it, right? That's all you're giving? Even if you pit him if you couple him with a nice offensive coordinator?
No, not Dennis Allen.
All right, you saw enough out of the black hole there, the silver and black. No Dennis Allen. How about a guy that was made an interesting rise to the head coaching ranks? Just 1 year in the Bay Area as the San Francisco 49ers offensive coordinator. What he did with Debo is part of that Niners team that turned it around. Mike McDaniel taking over in South Beach in Miami. Mike McDaniel, the young up-and-comer from Yale. You like the Yale background over the Texas Tech background for Kliff Kingsbury?
Yeah, I do. 1,000 times out of 1,000. 1,000 times out of 1,000, I would 100%. Because again, me pounding the table for Kliff Kingsbury to not have his post as head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, not only do the Cardinals still have him as head coach, but you're missing out on all these potentially perfect replacements that will no longer be available for the Cardinals to take as head coach. So, 100% out of a million percent, I would take.
He's coming out of that hot coaching tree that everybody wanted to bring up during the playoffs. Part of that 2013 Washington staff where it had McVay and LaFleur. And who am I missing out of that trio? McVay, LaFleur, and
Shanahan.
And Shanahan, yeah. Shanahan, the son, he was the OC of that. And Mike his dad was the head coach. And then McDaniel was also on that coaching staff. I know, 1 year as an offensive coordinator, and he's collaborating with Kyle Shanahan. I don't know if that's enough of a resume to oust or replace a guy that just won 11 games. And you've seen steady improvement as far as the offense each and every year. I'll stick with Kingsbury. All right, this is where it's going to get tough for me because you have two guys, as far as Josh McDaniels, he's taken over in Vegas as the Las Vegas Raiders head coach. He won 6 Super Bowls as a part of the New England Patriots organization. Josh McDaniels or Kliff Kingsbury. And I thought McDaniels should have been in the mix when they hired Kliff Kingsbury. I actually was that was back when Tom Brady was still with the Patriots organization, and he was going to stick around for that, and he wasn't really entertaining head coaching gigs then. But I think that might be where we start to find somebody who has a resume good enough to replace what they would get out of Kingsbury.
This is a tough one too, yeah, because it was a joke in Denver. Bill Belichick's coaching tree has been terrible. But Josh McDaniels is an adult, and I think he'd build a team, or he'd build a coaching team around him. I would take Josh McDaniels.
I like how he collaborates, how he did with Brady. I liked really what he did when we're thinking with Kyler, coupling him, what he was able to accomplish with Mac Jones in just one season. I think I take him. Last one, and I know this one, that's why I saved it. It's Brian Daboll. Buffalo Bills OC takes over in New York as the G-Men's head coach. He's going to be coaching the year. Do we even need your answer?
No.
No, but it's an emphatic yes.
I don't need to overstate this. This is the obvious one. We were hoping that I was hoping that the journey with Kliff would end this season, knowing that Bieniemy and Daboll would be available. And I guess Bieniemy is still available for an OC position. So that could be something that the Cardinals could jump on. Yeah. But Brian Daboll was my Great White Buffalo or whatever from what they call it from Hot Tub Time Machine. Yeah. He was the target for me, and unfortunately that's never going to happen now. So I would 100% take Brian Daboll over Kliff Kingsbury. What about you?
Yeah, I don't. God,
you're such a truther. You've completely flipped.
I'm not. I just think that the grass isn't always greener, and we have no idea. These guys are unproven, and you're this team and how it won 11 games. You really are. I'm not saying it's.
Yeah, I am.
It's you are because that's how they finish is going to be a big emphasis next season, and they were able to emphasize, coming out of gate strong, and they were able to overcome what they were able to overcome the previous season where they fell short. They made the postseason, and it's baby steps, and then it's not without frustration, but it's also to discount it is unfair as well.
You were just Brady bunching this. It's like an afternoon
I look like
special.
A truther compared to you, like the biggest Kliff Kingsbury tractor there is.
He has not won an important game in 3 seasons, Bo. 3 seasons. His daddy, Sean McVay, had to clinch a playoff spot for him. Like, I don't understand
Right.
why it's hard to understand. I don't get it. But you know what? It's Wednesday.
Because
Okay,
look,
we're not going to fight on a Wednesday.
If you are in the court of law and you're supposed to, and you have to prove your case for Kliff Kingsbury, good NFL head coach, there's enough evidence to say that he deserves to be a head coach, more so than there are your point about that he hasn't clinched an important game. I mean, as far as the improvements that the Cardinals have made every season under him, the jury would say that he is a good head coach.
This roster is so much better than it was in 2017 and 2018. It is.
Yeah.
It just is. It's
It
true.
is, but it's not great. It's not deep enough to really compete. That was a big issue. That's not Kliff's fault.
Oh man, I'm not going to do this all off season. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals.
Well, I'm unfollowing you. I'm taking you off of my Twitter and my Instagram.
Good.
Okay.
Finally, I've muted you anyways. I honestly don't care. We're gonna have some great interviews coming up. Bo's gonna finally do some work. We're gonna get a couple big name former NFL players to join him. We will be posting them as part of our podcast on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. Any final words out there from LA?
We don't have to kind of have the cloak over. We're going to talk to Jake Plummer, and it sounds like we're going to talk to former Arizona Cardinals linebacker Sam Acho. So we'll get some more insight where they feel like Kyler Murray is right now in his career, and where the Arizona Cardinals as an organization is at this point. So excited to hear from those guys, and even more. We'll see what comes our way in the next couple days. We appreciate you guys hanging with us. We apologize about Tuesday, but we're back on track with more Locked On Cardinals content all week long.
Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals. We'll check you tomorrow.